Hello and welcome. This time we'll be looking at a different game framework, Phaser 3. Phaser 3 is a JavaScript game framework, and I'm very excited to use it because JavaScript is the language that I use in my everyday work. So I'm looking forward to be able to use my existing knowledge. I was very hesitant to use Phaser 3 at first, but after using Pico 8, I got over my fear of using frameworks and not complete game engines like Godot or Unity. When I saw that it was possible to do something in Pico 8, I thought that it might be even easier in Phaser because Phaser does a lot of things for us, such as physics, and mainly physics, I guess. So let's have a look. What you see here is a template that I cloned from GitHub. The link will be in the description, and the link is here as well. It's from ourcade, and they have this starter repository. And here on the left is what this project looks like when you download this template. There is a main.js file. This loads the game, starts the game. It sets up like some config variables like the width and the height and the type of physics and the gravity. And it also specifies the scenes in the game. This will be the game scene. This is actually called something else in the template. I think Hello World scene. I renamed it to game scene. And this is what actually is displaying the thing that you can see on the left. It's a class in JavaScript. This thing here is the key of the scene. It's used by Phaser to keep track of the scenes, but since we won't be switching between scenes too much, so we won't need it. This is the preload function. This is run before the scene, before the scene is created. So here, this is loading images from the internet. You can see it's loading the background, which is the sky. It's loading the logo, and it's loading a red particle. And now in the create, the image sky is added first. Then there are some particles that are created. Then there is this logo, which is added as a physics object. The logo is then given some velocity, and then the emitter is set to follow the logo. So that's what's happening in this scene. But what I want to do is to make Pong. So let's see what we need to do that. So let's start playing around with this. I must admit that I'm still quite new to the Phaser API, and I find it quite confusing. Also, I want to explain what I mean by API, because it was the most confusing term to me when I first started off. When I say API, I mean the general way in which I interact with this program. The program here being Phaser 3. So the way that I'm telling Phaser to do something is using its API. And the way that that Phaser wants you to do things is to use scenes. So here we have a scene, and this variable in this class, so the instance that is created by this constructor, is a scene. And this scene has various properties and functions and methods. So such as this.physics, so this scene physics add image logo. This means that it adds an image of in the position of this and this to the physics of this scene. So if I get rid of this, I also get rid of these things. I'll just leave this here as a guide. Now the logo disappears, and now the emitter is no longer there. So let's see. And what else can we do? Maybe I can set an X of like 400 here, Y of 400. I haven't never tried this actually. And okay, so that sets the position of the emitter. Okay, so this is how you create things. So what I want to do is that I want to get rid of this sky. I don't need this. So, and I also want to get rid of actually I'll keep these, but I'll comment these out because again, I'll use these as reference because I'm quite new to this. Now we just have a black background. So now we can create a paddle. So a paddle in Pong is like the little bit on the left and right that you use to bounce the ball back and forth. So let's create this. And this will be this dot, let's say something like add and rectangle and x, so it takes in 5 arguments, the x, the y, the width and the height, and finally the color. It also gives it an alpha, but we don't need that. So let's say x is 10, y is 10. Again, 0, 0 is at the top left corner, so that's how coordinates usually work in computer graphics. And the width can be, let's call it a width variable, which does not exist, and a height variable, which also does not exist. So now this will probably crash, but I'm already using some of my JavaScript knowledge in that I know that I can make this constants file here, and I can do something like export const width equals, let's say 20, and I can do the same for height. Height is, let's say, 40. And I'm doing it this way. So now, now if I go back here, I do width, and it will import this width from this other file, and same for height. Now, oh, and I'm missing the color. That's why we're not seeing anything. So this is a hex. So FF will be white. And yeah, there we go. We got something. So clearly the width is, so clearly it's quite small. So let's make it maybe 100. Still quite small. Oh, okay. And I also think, I think we're only seeing half of it. So let's do paddle.set origin, something like this. So default is 0.5. That means that the origin of the paddle is in the center, but I want to draw it from the top left corner. So I will do 0, 0 here. And I think I can just do 0 once and it will be the same thing. I'll do 0, 0 for clarity. Okay, so now we have something on the screen. And I just want to make it a bit bigger still. So if the height, our game height is 800, this is like 200. Maybe a bit too much, maybe 60. Okay, looks good. And wanted to say this earlier, I got carried away. The reason I'm putting these in constants is that I want to have 2 paddles. So I want to be reusing it. Well, actually, I could make the paddle its own class, but this is fine for them. We'll see. Alrighty, so that's how we create a paddle. Now let's see how we can make it move. So to move this, we need to use some kind of input system to get input from the player. Also, actually, before we go further, I want to add this paddle to the instance of this scene because I want to use it in different methods on this class as well. So I will say this, the paddle equals paddle. And now I can use it in this create function, but I can also use it in an update function that we will have later. Now I also want to set up the keys. So as I mentioned, we need to have some sort of input, and each scene has this input manager. So this is input dot keyboard dot add key, and I want to say, let's say up, and now up, or let's say player 1 up, player 1, player 1 keys maybe. And now this does not exist yet, so I'll go back to constants and I will do export const player 1 keys equals, and this is an object, and up will be W. While I'm here, I want to say down will be S. So I will do add key pair one keys dot up. So if I retype this, it will update it automatically. And I will also add a key for down. And actually not enough. I want to also reference this in a different method because I want to check when it is pressed. So I want to say like this dot up key, and here I want to do this dot down. So now again, I'm saving these on this instance, and now I have these set up, but where I want to use them once the scene has been created. And to use them, I need to use the update function. This is the update function like we had in Pico 8. This will be called, I think, 60 times per second as the scene is running. So now I can do an if check, like if this dot up key dot is down, which sounds a bit silly, up key is down, but it means that it is like held down. I can say this dot paddle dot set x, I believe. Nice. This dot paddle y set y. This dot paddle dot y. So I take the existing y position and I subtract speed, and the speed again is going to be constant variable. Speed is, let's say, 5. Now if we go back here, speed, it imports it, and now this should work. Now if I go back to my game and I press W, then this paddle should move upwards. And that's exactly what happened. And now we can do this same thing for this dot down key is down, and here instead of subtracting, we are adding to the position. So now I'm pressing S, pressing Y, pressing S, pressing Y, and now we have a paddle that moves. So while we do have the paddle moving now, we actually want to move it using velocity and physics. So to add it to the physics system, we have to do this dot physics dot existing, add dot existing, and now we do paddle. And now we do paddle, and now we can immediately tell that it's been added to the physics because it's falling. So actually I don't need gravity here, so I'll just set gravity to 0. So now it's not falling anymore. But now instead of actually setting the y and x, setting the y directly, we want to set its velocity. So we can do this dot paddle dot maybe set velocity. Maybe is this a paddle dot body dot velocity dot x dot y. Say plus equals or minus equals speed. And let's see what that does. So it's still moving upwards, and I'll do plus equals speed here. Now it's moving very, very gently because we're adding speed to it. So maybe it's no longer correct to call this speed. Maybe this is acceleration instead. And this used to be called speed, I believe. So fine, we'll keep it that way. And now this becomes acceleration. While we're here, we can create another variable called drag. Say drag is 2. Now we can say this dot paddle dot body dot velocity dot y is equal to math, or okay, no. I want to say if this dot paddle dot body dot velocity dot y is less than 0, then I want to, if it's less than 0, then want to set it to math.min. I'll figure this out in a second. So either 0 or this plus drag. So yeah, that's doing what I want. Basically, what I want to say is that if the velocity is less than 0, so if it's moving up, I want to add drag to it, but I don't want it to be more than 0. So math.min selects of two values, it gives us the smallest one. So until it's less than 0, it's giving us this one. But once this is actually more than 0, it'll just give us 0. And maybe I need more velocity because currently the drag seems to be very powerful. So maybe acceleration can be 10 instead. I think I need more drag. So now let's say drag is 4. Okay, that feels good. Let's say that feels good. Maybe we'll figure that out. And now here we can do else. If it's not less than 0, then it must be greater than 0. And that means that we can just do the opposite. So math.min math.max and y minus drag. So now working in the other direction as well. Okay, so that's great. Now we have some physics in the game. And now I want to add walls. So for the walls, I will do I do maybe be a bit too clever, but we'll see. So I'll do 2 sets of coordinates, and they will be 0, 0, and they will be again x will be 0 and y will be I think 590. Now for these sets of coordinates, I'll do for each chords is a function, and const I can destructure them to be x and y equal chords. And for each of these, I will create a rectangle. So I will do const wall is this that add rectangle at x, y, and I think width can be 10 and height can, well, no, width has to be 800. So the width of the screen and height can be, let's say, 10. And white can be, and white, the color is fine. So now we have 2 of these rectangles here on the screen. I'll make them maybe some other color. Okay, so now we can see them better. Now we do wall.set origin. Actually, maybe this is this. Maybe I want display origin. Origin of the game object. Origin. Okay, so origin is fine as well. 0, 0. Set origin 0, 0. Okay, perfect. Now, actually, I don't want to. Maybe do I want to see these walls? I can maybe. I'll see the walls for debugging. Let's say, and then we can hide the walls. We can just place them off screen. Like I can do -10 here. That's it. And so wall at origin. And what else? Okay, now I need to add the walls to the physics manager. So this.physics, and this is still referencing the scene. So this.physics.add.existing wall. See now. Okay, so how can I test this? I'll add gravity to see if the walls fall down, and they do, so that's great. And now, once we have the walls, also want to do wall.body.double equals walls. Or actually, I think I can do, there's something like wall and then static is the second argument here. So yeah, it is static, so true. Now I want to enable a collision between the wall and the paddle. So let's do this.physics add dot collider. Yes, exactly. It'll be paddle and wall. Now I'm colliding against the walls. Great. And now I can hide these, make this -10. So this is now outside of the view area, but the collision still works. This can go down to 600, so it'll also be below the view area, but the collision still works. And for clarity, I can say const wall coordinates and have it be these, and then say wall coordinates. And okay, so now it should be the same. And now we have collision with the walls. So now I think that the only thing left to do to have a simple prototype ready is to create a ball. Let's see how we can create a ball. I think we can take this here and finally make this useful. So set velocity and set bounce, because we want to have the ball move, we need to give it some velocity, and we don't need to update it. It can be the same. And the bounce is to make it bounce off other physics objects. So we'll use this, and everything else will be largely the same, or largely what we have done before. So we can do here, and otherwise, I think all of this can be it. But instead of paddle, it will be called ball. Don't need the set origin now. Actually, I think it can be in the center, and I don't think I need to put it on the instance. And also, I don't want to put it in top left. I want to say 800, which is the width, divided by 2, and 600, which is the height, divided by 2. And this can be maybe 20 and 20, and I'll make this red so that we can see it. Okay, so we have a red ball in the center, and we add it to the physics, and then we say, instead of logo, we say this. Set, we say ball.body, and set velocity, set bounce. And I'll make it go towards the left because we have a paddle there, and I'll set the velocity like this. So that made the ball move, which is great, but we also need to give it a collider, so we can repeat this and change this to a ball. So now the ball should collide with the walls. It does. And we can also make it collide with the paddle. So this that physics that add collider, this that paddle and ball. I'll put this down here. Okay, so it collided, but it also pushed it away, and there's a separate property for that. It's we can do this that paddle. Sorry, rather paddle dot body pushable false. And now Visual Studio Code says that it doesn't have this, but it actually does have it. And as you can see, the game is working correctly as well. So yeah, that's I think that's it for today. We have some basic Pong stuff happening. I'll get rid of this now. And I can also get rid of this now. And it's, yeah, so we can play Pong. Or we can't really play Pong. We can play maybe one round of Pong. And now we also need to add an enemy and some kind of AI, but I'll think about that in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.